Hello my crafty friends, this is Monica from Allsewpetite. If you are like me, you probably like making small projects and quilting them to add just a little bit of detail. However, I hate wasting my time drawing countless lines to ensure my stitching is straight. So I decided to invest in a walking foot with additional stitching guide. So in this tutorial, I will show you how to attach it to your machine and how to use it. But first, let's take a closer look at the walking foot and the components. So this is a walking foot for my Juki TL2200. As you can see, the walking foot is much larger comparing to a standard machine foot, and it has additional feed dogs located on top, which means that when you sew your fabric and you have many layers, like on this coaster for example, where there is one fabric on top, another on the bottom, and there is a fleece in between, so it can be a little bit thick, those extra feed dogs will ensure that the fabric is equally fed underneath the foot from the bottom and from the top, which is the main benefit of the walking foot. As you can see, there is some type of fork on the side of your foot, and when you move it up and down, your feed dogs also move up and down. So you can use the walking foot by itself whenever you are sewing thick fabrics, or even a very delicate fabrics that you want to make sure they fit nicely underneath the machine. However, when I'm quilting, I like to add the quilting or stitching guide to my walking foot. So for my machine, this comes in 3 separate pieces. So you have a metal bar just like this, then you have one piece that goes inside just like that, twist that screw to tighten it. This part is attached to the walking foot. So as you can see here, there is a little screw hole that will be inserted here. So you basically placing this attachment here on top just like that, so it will sit on your walking foot just like that. And then you have an extra screw which is longer than the screw on your sewing machine, which goes through both of the pieces and then it gets attached to your machine. Once this is attached, you have this extra piece here. This is the actual guide, so you're going to insert it and then you can screw it here as well, and then this will allow you to move it up and down, adjusting the distance of your stitching line. So let's go to the machine and I will show you how to attach it. So when you want to use the walking foot, you will need to remove the main screw and your regular foot from your machine. Make sure you keep that screw safely, you don't want to lose it. Now you're going to take your walking foot and we're going to insert it from behind. So this needle bar here needs to go inside that fork. Here we go, just like that. When you are stitching, you will notice that the feed dog moves as well. Now you're going to take the connector and that extra long screw, and you can insert the screw into the hole just like that, and then you're going to insert the rest of the screw through the walking foot and the shank of your machine just like that. You might have to wiggle all those pieces so all the holes lined up, and then when you are ready you can just screw them in place. So now you are ready to use your walking foot. However, because I want to quilt my fabric, I'm going to add the stitching guide. So you're going to insert that long bar into your connector just like that, and then you can just change the width and then you can just screw it on the back so it's nice and secure. So now we are ready to do some quilting. I have my sample here And as you can see, usually you would have to draw all those stitching lines. However, when you are using the walking foot with a guide, all you have to do is to draw the first initial line to ensure that the first line of stitching is nice and straight. So I already stitched a couple of lines, so I'm going to show you what to do. So instead of watching your needle when you are stitching, you need to look at the bar here. So this guide is where you have to keep an eye on. So I have my stitching line here. So you're going to put the previous stitching line, which you're going to use as a guideline, at the bar, just like that, and then you can start stitching. So don't watch your needle, watch your bar here. You need to make sure that you basically following the line to ensure that your stitching line is nice and straight. Here we go, just like that. So as you can see, those lines are nice and straight and parallel to each other. As a bonus, I can tell you as well that you can use this stitching guide as your seam allowance guide. So if this was my project and I was stitching two pieces of fabric together and my seam allowance would be 1 centimeter, I could just place my fabric like this, stitch it, and basically follow the edge of the fabric with the guide. So my seam allowance is 1 centimeter throughout. Here you go, which is fantastic because you can adjust the width and even go over your plate. So if, for example, you have a project that requires very large seam allowance, you can use the walking foot with a guide to do that. So it would be easy to just stitch a straight line using this guide as a seam allowance guide.